Hey, what's going on guys, Chris here, and welcome to another Battlefield 1 weapon guide. In today's video, we're going to be checking out a feisty little handgun made by Beretta in the form of the Modello 1915, a small but sturdy pistol which can be equipped on one of your support loadouts. So the Italian Beretta model 1915 was practically the first semi-automatic pistol to be produced by the company, and was the start of a long line of handguns to be designed and manufactured in its future. The model 1915 originally utilised 7-round detachable single-stack magazines and was chambered for the 9mm Glicenti service ammunition, which was already being used by the Italian army for their earlier model 1910 pistols. One of the most interesting things about the first iteration of the M1915 was the fact that it had two separate manual safety features, one which can be seen on the left side of the frame which stopped the slide from operating, and the other was located at the back of the gun, locking a hammer preventing its function. Because the pistol didn't really need two manual safety mechanisms, as one was good enough, the rear safety was taken away in later versions. The M1915 was slightly redesigned a couple of years later in 1917 to fire the 7.65mm Browning SR cartridge, aka 32 ACP, a smaller, albeit less powerful round, though still enough to cause enough damage to get the job done. These updated 1915-70 models might have been a bit weaker, but they were also lighter and carried an extra bullet, bumping its magazine capacity up to 8 rounds in total. The model 1915 was created by Tullio Marangoni, who was working with Beretta at the time. It was in development from as early as 1910 and was mainly designed to replace the Glicenti model 1910 handgun, which was in service with the Italian military. The model 1910 had a pretty complicated design, so this meant that it was expensive to produce on a large scale, which definitely didn't make it an ideal candidate for a massive war about to kick off. The Italian army desperately needed more military firearms as they entered the Great War, and so they requested for a new pistol to be made which was cheaper to produce and utilised the same Glicenti ammunition. So the much simpler model 1915 was created and introduced, costing less money to manufacture, thus meeting the demands for a successful military sidearm. Just what the Italians were looking for. Though despite being a big improvement over the model 1910, the M1915 was perhaps just a bit too hefty and powerful for what the Italians really needed in the war. So its design evolved in 1917 to suit its purpose better. And because the 1917 version of the gun was ultimately superior, this led to a much larger number in sales as a whole. But this wasn't the end of the M1915's evolution, as a couple of years later the gun was further improved in 1919 and once again in 1923. And these variants went on to serve in the Italian army for many years later, leading right the way up until 1945, up until the very end of the Second World War. Now, swiftly moving over to Battlefield 1, the Modello 1915 is statistically a lot like the other smaller pistols which can be found on the other classes, and so it shares the same damage output, firing the exact same cartridge as the 1903 hammerless. The gun's going to deal a maximum damage of 26.5 up to the range of just 6 meters, which is where that damage is suddenly going to begin to drop off. And if your target is 31 meters away or more, then you're only going to deal 13.5 damage per bullet. These are actually the lowest damage readings of all of the sidearms, and because that damage is going to start dropping off so early, it basically gives the M1915 one of the worst ranges too, as you practically need to be standing very close to your target if you want to inflict that maximum damage. The gun can kill in 4 bullets up to 10 meters, but it can take up to 8 rounds to put someone down beyond 28 meters. So although it might be able to kill in the same amount of bullets as a few of the other pistols, like the P08 and the Emily 1903, because of its generally low power, it'll take an extra round to kill for every 6 meters away your enemy is. Landing a single headshot in close quarters won't quite be enough to secure a 3-bullet kill on a fully healed opponent, like it would be with the Luger pistol or the Emily 1903, as it's still going to take 4 rounds to do the trick. And this is just another example of the gun's damage output not really doing it much justice. One thing that does do the gun justice, however, is the Modello 1915's rapid 450 RPM fire rate, making it one of the fastest firing pistols in the game. Because of this additional speed, you can quite easily make up for the gun's lower damage output by simply tapping the trigger quicker, and essentially killing faster than most of the other sidearms, even giving a lot of the primary weapons a run for their money in up-close firefights too. As under 10 meters, the Modello 1915 has the capability of outshooting most weapons in the game. The gun's speedy rate of fire gives its time to kill a boost at further distances also, as despite it firing a weaker cartridge, the M1915 can drop an enemy relatively quickly over most distances, providing you can stay on target and spam the trigger fast enough, that is. Each 7.65mm round is going to fly through the air at a speed of 320 meters per second, which for a semi-automatic pistol is slightly on the lower side, with the M1911 being the only semi-auto handgun below this, though its muzzle velocity is still higher than all of the revolvers, meaning that it's probably going to be a bit more reliable for taking on a ranged opponent, but you still might need to lead the target slightly to ensure your bullets are going to land directly where you want them to. Because the M1915 has a vertical recoil figure of 1, this means that it's a fairly stable weapon that isn't going to fly upwards very much at all as you open fire. This should help you stay on target and allow you to take advantage of the gun's high rate of fire, without the need to readjust your aim after every shot. This should also make it seem easier to use and a bit steadier at further distances too. Though because the gun's horizontal recoil figure is 0.4, it's not going to be quite as accurate as a few of the other semi-automatic pistols, such as the C93, M1903, or the repeater pistol M1912, which the support class can also equip. A slightly higher horizontal recoil can lead to more shots missing, especially when you're up against someone at range, and this could prove to be a bit of an issue with the gun already requiring a lot of hits to kill at longer distances. The Modello 1915 shares the same hipfire spread values as the other sidearms in the game, so if you want to bypass the time it takes to aim down sights and just start blasting away sooner, then hipfiring can be a good option in close quarters to quickly finish someone off. Though with ADS spread being fairly low when both standing and moving, aiming down the pistol's iron sights is usually going to be the most accurate and effective way to engage targets in most scenarios, with spread being 3 times lower in ADS as opposed to hipfire when running and gunning. Utilising detachable 8-round magazines slotted into the underside of the pistol's grip, the Modello 1915 has a similar kind of ammo capacity as a lot of the other semi-automatic pistols. Though with the gun being able to hold an additional 9th round in the chamber after performing a tactical reload, this gives it one more chance to finish the fight and ensure your target is going down, as that extra round gives you one more shot than the M1911, M1903, and the repeater pistol M1912, all guns which can be equipped by the support class. With a tactical reload time of 1.5 seconds and a full reload taking up to 2 seconds to perform, this gives it a fairly average reload time. Although it's miles quicker than the heavier pistols and the revolvers, it's still not quite as fluid as a lot of the other sidearms, including the Frommerstop, Taschen pistol, and 1903 hammerless, which can all be used on the other classes. Though with that being said, the gun doesn't exactly have a slow reload duration, and you probably won't notice much of a difference between the Modello and the P08 or C93, with their reload times all being fairly similar. So in conclusion, the Modello 1915 is essentially the support's low power, high speed option, which might generally take more rounds to kill, but can dispense said rounds at a much quicker rate, delivering a rapid time to kill across the board. It's going to be most deadly under 10 meters, being able to wipe enemies off the map in the same amount of bullets as a lot of the other sidearms. Though with the gun's damage dropping off more quickly over range, this helps to balance it out and equalise its stats to fit in fairly with the other pistols. Because it isn't exactly the most accurate handgun in the game, this might cause a few more shots to stray off target than you'd probably like at mid to long distances, and its fairly average muzzle velocity doesn't really do anything to help here either. Though it's still a very stable weapon to use, and should seem fairly easy to control because of its low vertical recoil. And with the gun being able to hold up to 9 rounds at a time, this should be enough to get you through most one-on-one battles alive. You're gonna need a fast trigger finger if you want to take advantage of the weapon's full killing capability. Though if you can master it, the small but reliable Modello 1915 can be a very deadly pistol, which, despite being the tiddler of the pack, definitely shouldn't be underestimated. But anyway, that's all I've got for you this time guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, let me know it by clicking on that like button on your way out. Subscribe for loads more content on Battlefield 1 and other games in the future, and I'll be seeing you in the next episode.